just gonna put this on Facebook real quick. What's up, everyone? This is Bro Diallo from the Bro Diallo Show. I'm doing a little impromptu thing because of what I've been seeing. On social media following the death of George Bush Sr. And I'm quite perturbed, and I just wanted to say a few things before I eat supper. I titled this video Bush Won and We Lost as we continue to lose because I've been seeing a lot of memes about George Bush being dead, being in hell, mocking George Bush, mocking his drug dealing, and mocking every aspect of his life, his presidency, and some people even go back as far as his World War II record and heroic record. Oh, give me 1 second. Excuse me. Erica, I'm making a video. Sorry. Anyway, this is what I have to say about Bush legacy. The Bush family, George W. Bush Sr., his offspring, and his father, Prescott Bush, has been a persistent thorn in the side of black people across the globe for over a century, well over a century, and have been some of the biggest, not only champions of capitalism and global white domination, but some of the greatest benefactors. Prescott Bush was part of the cabal that not only took down Marcus Messiah Garvey, but also the cabal that set up the new financial structure, the Wall Street investment, global capitalism. Prescott Bush went a long way in creating what was known as the modern capitalist world, the father of Bush. Way back in the early 1900s, when they first migrated here from Germany, the Bush family. And there's a good book talking about this history called Bush Family Fortunes. Then come Prescott Bush, who served in World War II, helped to save the world from fascism and communism, and went about setting about what he was one of the first major global leaders to publicly utter the phrase New World Order in his 1,000 Points of Light speech. He was behind not only the subversion of the civil rights movement with his role in the CIA in coordination with J. Edgar Hoover and what's his name? And the FBI through the CIA, the subversion of Malcolm X, Dr. King, the SDS, Student for Democratic Society, the Weathermen, and so on and so forth. He was instrumental in dismantling the Roosevelt social safety net, the New Deal and Great Society war on poverty, and replacing that with the war on drugs. He was instrumental in constructing the narrative and advancing from the Nixon administration the mass incarceration system. And putting in the infrastructure of the federal, state, and local mass incarceration infrastructure, creating global capitalism, bringing down the downfall of the Iron Curtain, global socialism, capitalism, and the Berlin Wall. All I have to say is George W. Bush, for George W. Bush to die at 94 years old in the lap of luxury, holding the highest office in the land for one term, heading the CIA for many years prior to that, for being part of some of the worst global conspiracies and being a member of one of the largest gangster cartels, gangster families. Because if you think the Italian, Sicilian gangsters or something, you don't know anything until you understand the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon, Nordic gangsters. So all I'm saying is we making all these funny memes. We got all these jokes on jokes on jokes about how Bush is burning in hell right now. When I think the appropriate thing to do when such a figure dies, when such a figure passes on of this magnitude, is to reflect on why he didn't die in a jail cell somewhere, why he was able to not only live a long life, but a life of utter opulence, a life of absolute wealth, as opposed to the people retaking those resources, and how he has through his bloodline. You think we're not done with the Bushes because they're entangled in global finance, oil, extraction, refinement, and processing. They're building and still building on their political legacy. Bush ain't dead. The ghost of Bush is still haunting us. And I'm not even talking about George H.W. Bush. I'm talking about Prescott Bush, who brought down Garvey. So we as African people, we need to start, I mean, run with your memes. I don't want to ruin people's fun. Celebrate the death of yet another tyrant who lived a long life of wealth and opulence, while many of our noble freedom fighters died in poverty, in obscurity, at very young ages. This is really nothing to celebrate or even to mock. Why do we continue to lose? Why do these people who should be in prison cells live in mansions? And what do we say about the ongoing tyrants, ongoing oligarchs, the ongoing, as Wise Intelligent calls, the globe holders, the population controllers, the disease makers, aka AIDS creators, the cremators, doctors, nurses, and nigger haters who's out to get us after making us bullshitters? So I think that this is a time of reflection. As Bush, as you know, Trump has declared a day of mourning, as your beloved Barack Obama and Michelle Obama and all your congressional black Congress members who will lament his passing, calling him a great statesman. We need to look at this history, how these people systematically subvert our development, and how they are raping the world's resources when they're less than 1% of the global population, and say, how could we have stopped him? How do we stop what he built? How do we subvert them? How do we construct opposition to them? How do we expose their crimes as opposed to mocking their deaths? So Bush won. He died victorious. And all the memes in the world, all the mockery in the world, and at this point, all the exposure in the world won't do anything. But one thing you got to recognize, there are Bushes still here. From his bloodline and his lineage to a bunch of other, to brand new legacies. Obama's trying to build that legacy. Obama wants his wife and daughters and his offspring to build $1 billion family oligarchical legacy on our backs. Bush has been an asset to the systems and institutions of global white domination. The Bush family, going back 100 years, has identified threats to global hegemony, has identified threats to capitalism, and effectively blew up, subverted those threats from Garvey to Malcolm X and beyond. So I just encourage us. There's a really good book called Bush Family Fortunes, but there's plenty of books written on the Bush crime family, the Bush syndicate. And instead of just making memes or enjoying memes of the crack epidemic that he oversaw through the CIA, through the mass incarceration he saw as vice president and president, his subversion of the and corruption of the African decolonization movement that he did as a CIA vice president and president, instead of just mocking this man and his passing, getting our little, shots in, our little digs in. Being conscious is not just being aware of the corruption of the elites. Being conscious means subverting the agendas of the elites, which we are failing miserably. We don't understand past agendas, we don't subvert current agendas, and we don't even have our own agenda to advance forward or to promote to the people. So despite everything we say about Bush, Bush won. There's a sick capitalist saying, the guy who dies with the most toys wins. This family is worth well over $1 billion, has real estate across the globe, has ties, and Jenna Bush and the Bush twins and all of the Bush, even the coked out younger Bush brother, they still live in opulence. Right now, like a bunch of vultures, they're dividing up the fortune that was established by a bootleg and drug dealing scumbag, corrupt Prescott Bush, and a global war criminal, Daddy Bush, and then even his son to this day, Michelle Obama's side. I don't know what you call a side dude. What? You know, Michelle Obama's homie, George W. Bush, the man she loves so much. That man is directly responsible for over 1 million deaths from telling lies. That man is directly responsible for the embezzlement and theft of over $1 trillion and transfer of wealth of over $1 trillion wealth from the working class people up into the coffers of the global elites, from the investment class, the capitalist class. And what, we just gonna wait for these evil, warmongering, omnicidal oppressors to die and make memes about them? Or are we gonna undermine the system they built? Are we gonna stop their agendas? So Bush won. He beat us. He beat us. And all the memes in the world will not change that fact. He's been beating. That man beat us for half a century and then sat back for 2-3 decades of retirement and watched his legacy unfold. And all we got in response are memes and mockery. So I say Bush won. And game, you know, and denying reality is one of the key ways of guaranteeing that you will never be able to influence or impact reality. I'm not celebrating his victory, but I'm not going to deny it either. And mockery is not enough. So it's time for us to organize. It's time for us to truly organize and recognize these insidious agendas that were established by Bush and his family and many others, and advanced by many of our own people that we celebrate, these blacks that we celebrate because some Negro gets to go off to Harvard on a scholarship and then emerge from Harvard as an imperialist. Obama and many others like him at lower levels. So it's time to get serious. It's time to make sure that the tyrants who are here today in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, that they don't die as multi-billionaires and get a national day of mourning. Let's make it so that the imperialists, the oppressor, the genocidal maniacs spend their last of their years in prison cells while the revolutionaries roam free, while the revolutionaries have the adequate resources to live dignified lives. Something to think about, you know. And, you know, I ain't trying to ruin your life. I'm about to go have me a veggie burger and watch a movie with my family. But I just had to say this. I couldn't wait. I'm supposed to go on the air, Bro Diallo show. I'll be live and direct Tuesday night. Yeah, Tuesday night, new schedule, new time. But I just had to get that off my chest. You know, mocking an enemy who's defeated you is not a victory. That's all I got to say. Later, y'all.